Chapter 1. Smile for Me. Hollywood Boulevard, October 6, 1980, 11:45 p.m. Polly Peachum counted the bills tucked into her bra. $60 in wrinkled 5s and 10s that smelled like desperation and Old Spice. 3 more tricks and she'd have enough for rent, and maybe a bag of groceries that didn't come from the day-old rack. 22 years old, and already an expert at the mathematics of survival in Los Angeles. The boulevard pulsed with neon promises. Paradise adult books threw pink light across the sidewalk like spilled wine. The Embassy Hotel's sign flickered between vacancy and no, unable to make up its mind. October heat made everything stick, her dress to her ribs, her hair to her neck, the looks from passing cars to her skin like handprints. She pulled out her notebook, scribbled a line while waiting for the next car to slow. The city wears my body like a cheap dress, all zippers and easy access. But underneath the fabric something grows teeth still writing. Shakespeare? Crystal emerged from the shadow of a palm tree, 6 feet of bleached blonde ambition stuffed into a tube top. She'd been working the boulevard since before Polly graduated high school. Told you, honey, Johns don't pay extra for poetry. It's not for them. Polly tucked the notebook back into her purse, fake leather peeling at the corners, another casualty of the hustle. It's for me, to remember I'm more than this. We're all more than this. Crystal lit a Virginia Slim exhaled smoke that the Santa Ana winds grabbed and twisted. Doesn't change the fact that this is what pays. A car cruised past, new model Camaro, windows tinted like guilty consciences. It slowed near Crystal, and she straightened, put on her commerce face. That's me. Watch yourself tonight, Paul. Weird energy out here. Crystal clicked toward the Camaro on heels that could double as weapons. Polly watched her go, then turned back to her corner. Crystal was right about the energy. Something in the air besides smog and desperation. Something that made her want to write faster. Capture words before they evaporated like spit on hot concrete. She'd been Marjorie Elaine Cosgrove in Riverside, writing poems about orange groves and first kisses. But Riverside didn't have room for girls who loved other girls, who wrote verses about desire that burned wrong according to her father's Bible. So she became Polly Peachum, stage name borrowed from Brecht, new identity stitched together from thrift store glamour and street corner confidence. Another car slowed. Lincoln Continental, burgundy like old blood. The window rolled down, and Polly put on her smile. The one that said available but not desperate, interested but not invested. The smile she'd practiced in truck stop bathroom mirrors between Riverside and here. Evening. Handsome, looking for some company? The driver leaned into the streetlight's reach. Young, maybe early 30s, dark hair that fell across his forehead like it had been styled by expensive hands. Leather jacket despite the heat. The kind of face that belonged on movie screens, not trolling for prostitutes on Hollywood Boulevard. I'm looking for poetry, he said. Polly's smile faltered. Sorry, I heard you talking to your friend. About writing. His smile was perfect, which made it wrong somehow, like a mannequin learning to grin. I'd like to hear some. I'll pay for the time. The smart thing would be to walk away. Pretty boys in nice cars wanting to hear poetry at midnight weren't Johns. They were trouble wearing better clothes. But rent was due in 3 days, and $60 wouldn't cover it. $100 for the hour, she said. Meter starts when I get in. Of course. He reached across, opened the passenger door. The interior smelled like leather and something else. Something wild, like the coyotes that came down from the hills during drought years. I'm Eddie, Polly. She slid in, dress riding up thighs she hadn't shaved in days. Where to? Somewhere quiet, where we can talk about transformation. The word made her skin prickle, but the $100 bill he pulled from his wallet made her ignore the warning. Ben Franklin's face looked smug in the dashboard light, like he knew something she didn't. Eddie drove east, away from the neon. The city changed around them, tourist glamour giving way to the real Los Angeles. Liquor stores with bars on the windows, apartments where people lived 3 families to a unit, the bones of the city, stripped of Hollywood's makeup. Tell me about your poetry, Eddie said, handling the Lincoln like it was an extension of his body. What drives you to write? Same thing that drives everyone. Need to make sense of shit that doesn't make sense. Polly kept her purse in her lap, hand near the knife she carried. You really want to talk about poetry, or is this foreplay? Everything is foreplay to transformation. He turned onto a side street she didn't recognize. Warehouses lined both sides, their windows dark as closed eyes. Your poem back there, something grows teeth. What grows teeth, Polly? It's metaphor. Is it? He pulled into an alley between 2 buildings, killed the engine. In the sudden silence, she could hear her heart hammering. Or is it prophecy? Look, if you're not interested in what I'm selling, I'm interested in what you're hiding." He turned to face her fully, and his eyes caught the alley's dim light like an animal's. "The real poems, the ones you don't write down, the ones about what you left in Riverside." Polly's hand found the door handle. Locked. Of course it was locked. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Marjorie Elaine Cosgrove, valedictorian. Full scholarship to Berkeley you never used." His smile widened, showing too many teeth. "Ran away the night you found your father reading your journals. The poems about Sarah Chen, how her mouth tasted like strawberry lip gloss. How you wanted to dissolve into her skin." The knife was in her hand now, blade catching streetlight. "How do you know that?" "I know everyone's secret names, the ones they bury under personas and performances." He leaned closer, and that wild smell intensified. "I know you write yourself as Polly Peachum, tragic whore with a heart of gold. But underneath, you're still Marjorie. Still the girl who wrote love poems so raw they could strip paint. Stop. You romanticize your own degradation, turn tricks into metaphors, make Hollywood Boulevard into a Greek tragedy where you're both chorus and protagonist." His hand moved faster than thought, caught her wrist before the knife could find flesh. "But that's not honest. That's another mask, another lie you tell to make the truth bearable." His grip was iron pretending to be flesh. The knife fell, clattered onto the floorboard. Polly's free hand fumbled for the door lock, found it, pulled. Nothing. The mechanism wouldn't budge. "Let me go. I will, after you see what you really are beneath the metaphors." Eddie's face was changing, not all at once but in waves. Bones shifting beneath skin, jaw elongating, those perfect teeth multiplying into rows of ivory daggers. "After you understand that some transformations can't be captured in verse." Polly screamed. The sound bounced off warehouse walls, came back changed. Nobody would hear. Nobody would come. This was the Los Angeles they didn't put in tourism brochures. The alleys where girls disappeared, where monsters wore human faces until they got you alone. "Please." The word came out small, defeated. "I have a sister. She thinks I'm in college. Sends me letters. No more lies." The thing that had been Eddie kicked open his door, dragged her across the seats and out into the alley. His hands, claws now, impossible but undeniable, never loosened their grip. "Time for your final poem, the one written in flesh instead of words." The alley smelled like piss and motor oil and the death of dreams. Eddie threw her against a loading dock door hard enough to knock breath from her lungs. She tried to run, but he was everywhere at once, moving with lupine grace, herding her like sheep. "You know what disgusts me about your poetry?" His voice had dropped 2 octaves, gravel and growl mixing. "You make suffering beautiful, turn rape into roses, transform violence into verse." A claw caught her dress, tore it from collar to hem. "But suffering isn't beautiful, Marjorie. It's just suffering." She was naked now except for underwear and the money still tucked in her bra. The bills fluttered as she shook. $60, the price of her life, the mathematics of survival adding up to 0. "But transformation," Eddie continued, circling her. "True transformation, that can be beautiful. When the mask comes off, when the performance ends, when you stop being Polly Peachum and become what you were always meant to be." "What's that?" The question came out as a whisper. "Honest." He struck, not with claws but with surgical precision. His hands opened her throat first, a smile beneath her chin that leaked red words. She tried to scream but only bubbles emerged, then her chest unzipped from sternum to navel, her body blooming like the flower she'd written about, petals of flesh peeling back to reveal the wet truth inside. But strangest of all, as her blood painted abstract art on the alley walls, Polly found herself thinking about poetry. Not the pretty lies she'd been writing, but the true verses. The ones about being hollowed out so completely that only the shell remained. About wearing your wounds like jewelry. About the moment when pain transcended into something else. "There," Eddie breathed, working with artist's focus. "There's the honesty." He arranged her organs like stanzas, turned her body into the poem she'd never been brave enough to write. Each placement deliberate, each angle meaningful. She was still alive, somehow impossibly, watching him transform her from person to art. "The Greeks believed the soul lived in the breath," he said, pulling something from his jacket. "But I think it lives in the smile. The real smile. The one you show when all pretense falls away." The happy face sticker seemed to glow in the alley light. He pressed it gentle-like, centered on her forehead. The sticker's grin matched her own, fixed, eternal, honest in its vigilance. Polly's last thought was that he was right. She had been romanticizing suffering, making it palatable through metaphor. But this was suffering without romance, truth without metaphor, And in that truth she found something she'd never expected: peace. The smile wasn't just the sticker, it spread through her whole being. Because finally, after 22 years of wearing masks, she was naked in every sense. No more Polly Peachum, no more Marjorie Cosgrove, just meat and meaning, arranged in an alley behind Paradise Adult Books. Eddie worked for another hour, perfecting the arrangement. She died somewhere in the middle, but he kept going. The poem wasn't finished just because the poet was. He folded her into the lotus position, legs beneath, arms spread, spine curved back impossibly far, placed her opened torso like a blooming rose, made sure the happy face sticker caught the light just right. When he was done, he stepped back to admire his work. Polly Peachum, who'd written about transformation, had become it, no longer poetess but poem, no longer liar but truth. He left her notebook beside her, open to the last entry. Let them find her words next to her flesh. Let them try to reconcile the pretty verses with the ugly reality. That was the real poetry, the space between what we write and what we are. Eddie Quist walked back to his Lincoln, human-shaped again, but still smelling of wild. Dawn was coming, painting the sky the color of fresh bruises. Soon someone would find her, would call the police, would start the machinery of investigation and headlines. But they'd miss the point. They always did. They'd see murder where he'd created art, see ending where he'd revealed beginning. Because Polly Peachum's transformation wasn't finished, it would continue in the nightmares of whoever found her, in the headlines that would scream her stage name, in the way other girls on Hollywood Boulevard would clutch their purses tighter, walk faster, pretend harder that they were something other than meat waiting to bloom. He drove toward home, already thinking about the next one, the singer at the Monarch who warbled torch songs to drunks. Lucy something, another performer, another liar, another flower waiting to be opened. The happy face sticker had done its job. Polly Peachum would be found smiling. They'd puzzle over that. How someone could smile through transformation that violent. They'd never understand that the smile came after, when the last lie fell away, when the performance finally mercifully ended. In the rearview mirror, the alley receded into memory. But Eddie knew it would be on the news by noon, would have helicopters circling, reporters speaking in hushed tones about the Hollywood Boulevard butcher or some equally reductive name. They'd never call it what it was. Art, honesty, the moment when meat became metaphor. But that was fine. Let them misunderstand. He had more work to do, more transformations to facilitate, more smiles to fix in place. The city woke around him, putting on its morning mask, but Eddie had seen what lay beneath, had helped reveal it, would keep revealing it until everyone understood in Los Angeles everyone was performing, and every performance had to end. And KPSX radio station Sunset Boulevard, 4:15 a.m. Karen White sat in the broadcast booth, watching Los Angeles transform from night to day through soundproof glass. The city spread below like a circuit board slowly coming online, darkness retreating to the corners where it would wait for another chance to hunt. In 15 minutes she'd go live with the morning report. Another voice, pretending the city was safer than it was. "You look like death," Terry Fisher said, sliding into the booth with 2 cups of coffee that smelled like burned motor oil. Terry, Karen's roommate throughout college, maid of honor at her wedding, and now radio producer and de facto boss, asked, "Bad dreams again?" "Same one." Karen accepted the coffee, winced at the first sip, running through the city on all fours, hunting something, or being hunted, can never tell which. Terry perched on the producer's chair, red spiral notebook already open. Dr. Freud would have a field day, Terry said. Anxiety dreams, transformation metaphors. Classic stress response, maybe. But Karen knew it was more than stress. The dreams had started weeks ago, right around the time the city's energy had shifted. Something in the air besides the usual smog and desperation. Something that made her want to run, not away but toward. Toward what, she couldn't say. The phone rang. Direct line, which meant news. KPSX, Karen White. Got a fresh one for you. Mike Chavez from the assignment desk, sounding too cheerful for someone who trafficked in tragedy. Body found behind Paradise Adult Books on Hollywood. Weird one, according to the scanner. Might want to mention it in the morning report. Weird how? Don't know. Cops are being cagey, but first responders were puking, so... He paused. You okay to take this? I know crime stuff hits you harder lately. I'm fine. The lie came automatically. Professional Karen, always fine, always ready. Send me what you have. She hung up, made notes. Body found. Hollywood Boulevard. Paradise Adult Books, she knew the place, had walked past it countless times. Pink neon promising satisfaction in 25-cent increments. The kind of place that turned loneliness into commerce. Bad? Terry asked. Murder. Hollywood Boulevard. Karen checked the clock. 10 minutes to air. They're saying it's unusual. Unusual for Hollywood? Must be pretty spectacular. Terry made her own notes. She'd been tracking crime patterns for a piece about urban decay. Charts and graphs trying to make sense of senseless violence. That's the third dead prostitute this month. We don't know she was. Hollywood Boulevard, Paradise Adult Books. Do the math. Terry's cynicism was armor protecting her from feeling too much. Girls die there all the time. Only difference is this one's getting attention. The news wire updated. Karen scanned the details such as they were. Female victim, early 20s. Body discovered by sanitation worker at 3:15 a.m. Suspicious circumstances. Suspicious. The word was almost funny. As if any circumstance that led to a young woman dead in an alley wasn't suspicious. As if the system that put her there, poverty, desperation, the 100 small violences that preceded the final one, wasn't suspect. 5 minutes, the engineer announced. Karen arranged her notes, found her broadcast voice. But something felt different this morning. The words she'd prepared, sanitized for commuter consumption, tasted like ash. Whoever had died behind Paradise Adult Books deserved better than body discovered and police investigating. The wire updated again. Victim identified as Polly Peachum, 22. Local address on Vine Street. Polly Peachum, Karen said aloud. That's got to be a stage name. Brecht, Terry said immediately. The Threepenny Opera, McKeith's wife. Well, one of them, she was already looking it up in the reference books she kept handy. Character's a prostitute who, oh, yeah. They sat in silence for a moment. Polly Peachum, 22, who'd chosen a name from German theatre for her Hollywood Boulevard performances, who'd been someone's daughter before she was a headline, who'd died behind a sex shop in the City of Dreams. 2 minutes. Karen put on her headphones, adjusted the microphone. Through the booth window, Los Angeles continued its morning metamorphosis. But she could feel the city's darker transformations happening too, in alleys and empty lots. In places where young women learned that dreams had teeth. Good morning, Los Angeles. This is Karen White with KPSX News. She read the headlines. Traffic backing up on the 405. Temperatures staying unseasonably warm. The Dodgers dropping another game. And buried in the middle, reduced to 20 seconds. Police are investigating the death of a woman found in Hollywood early this morning. The victim, identified as Polly Peachum, was discovered behind a business on Hollywood Boulevard. Authorities are calling the death suspicious and asking anyone with information to contact. The words stuck in her throat, not because she'd lost her place, but because she could feel the lie in them, the careful distance, the professional objectivity that turned a human being into a news item. The victim was 22 years old, Karen continued, going off script. She used a stage name taken from Brecht. She died alone in an alley in one of the richest cities in the richest country in the world, and by tomorrow we'll have forgotten her name. Dead air, the cardinal sin of radio. Terry was gesturing frantically from the producer's booth, but Karen couldn't stop. This is the third woman killed in that area this month. We report these deaths like weather, like traffic, like something inevitable instead of preventable. Polly Peachum was someone's daughter, someone's friend, someone who deserved better than technical difficulties. Terry's voice cut in smoothly. We'll be right back with more morning news after this quick break. The on-air light went dark. Karen pulled off her headphones, hands shaking. What the hell was that? Terry wasn't angry, just concerned. You can't just... I know. Karen slumped in her chair. I'm sorry, it's just... Polly Peachum. She chose that name for a reason. She was trying to be something. And now she's just another statistic. She was always going to be a statistic. That's what this city does. Chews people up, spits out numbers. Terry's voice softened. But that's why we need you on the air. To remind people there are humans behind the headlines. Am I? Or am I just packaging tragedy for easy consumption? Karen rubbed her temples. The dream from last night was still there, lurking, running on 4 legs, hunting. Sometimes I think we're all complicit, turning suffering into content. The door burst open. Mike Chavez, looking excited in the way only newsmen chasing tragedy could. Update on your Hollywood Boulevard body, he said. This is going to be huge. Cops are saying, Christ, I don't even know how to describe it. The body was arranged, posed, and, get this, There was a happy face sticker where her mouth should have been. What? Terry grabbed the wire printout. That's not possible. Gets better. Or worse, she was a poet, had a notebook full of poems with her. Mike was practically vibrating with adrenaline. This isn't just a murder. This is a story. Serial killer, maybe. The happy face killer. Can you imagine the ratings? Karen felt something cold slide down her spine. Not fear. Recognition. Like when you heard a song you'd forgotten you knew. Poems, she said. She wrote poems. Yeah. Deep stuff, according to the cop who leaked it, about transformation, about wearing masks. Mike was already composing headlines in his head. This is going to be everywhere by noon. We need to get you down there, live remote from the scene. No. The word came out harder than Karen intended. I mean, I have to finish the morning show. Terry can handle it. This is priority one. The happy face killer. It's got everything. Mystery, horror, that weird artistic angle, and you're our best on-scene reporter. Karen wanted to refuse. Wanted to stay in the booth where death was abstract, filtered through wire services and careful words. But Polly Peachum had written poems, had chosen a name from Brecht, had died with a smile that wasn't hers. Fine, she said. Give me 20 minutes to wrap up here. Mike left, already making calls. Terry studied Karen with the intensity she usually reserved for crime statistics. You okay? You went pale when he mentioned the poems. I'm fine. Another lie. They came so easily now, just tired. The dreams again? Yeah. Back in 60 seconds, the engineer announced. Karen put her headphones back on, found her professional voice in the place she stored all her masks. She finished the morning report, hitting all the marks. Weather, traffic, sports, the mundane rhythms that pretended the city wasn't feeding on itself. But her mind stayed in that alley, with Polly Peachum, 22, who wrote poems about transformation, who died with someone else's smile, who'd been turned into art by someone who signed their work with happy faces. This has been Karen White with KPSX Morning News. Stay tuned for... She stopped. Through the booth window, Los Angeles sprawled in the morning light. 7 million people waking up, putting on their daily masks, pretending to be something other than animals in clothes. Stay tuned for what happens next, she finished. Because in this city, anything can transform into anything else. Even news into nightmares. Even poets into poems. Even the living into the dead. She clicked off the mic. Terry was staring at her. Okay, that was creepy. Sorry, I'm just... Karen gathered her things. This one feels different. The happy face, the poems. It just got to me. It's a sicko with a gimmick. They all have gimmicks. But Terry didn't sound convinced. Be careful out there. And, Karen, don't go off script at the scene. Chavez will have your head. Karen nodded, already moving toward the door. The elevator down to the parking garage felt like a descent into something older than dirt, and the dreams were louder now, like a smile about to become a scream.